Hey guys, welcome back to Boost Hunter Garage. I had my AC compressor go out on my truck, so that's what we're going to be fixing today. It went out a few months ago and it was the middle of winter. I didn't care to fix it then, so I ended up just getting a shorter belt for it and just rerouting past the compressor, and I just been running like that. And I should order these parts a while because I'm really regretting it. This week it's been over 100 here. And really regretting not having my AC. So I should have ordered this a while ago, but here it is. So it was my compressor here that went out and locked itself up. And when that happens, it usually sends a bunch of metal shavings all throughout your AC system. And so when you do that, you usually have to change a few other parts with it just to make sure all of that's out. I do have AC flush here. Will flush out some of the lines because I had changed this about over 3 years ago, and so some of the lines are new. I'm just going to reuse them, so they have this flush here that helps clean all that out, so we'll do that. But while I'm at it, the main thing they always recommend changing is your condenser here, because it is all these thin passages and usually it'll trap that metal in there and you won't be able to clean that out, and then you have the possibility of that going through your system again and possibly wrecking the new compressor you have in there. So we got a new one of those, and I'm just going to change out, I believe this is called the evaporator. If I say the wrong names, no pro here, but just going to change this out. For the cost of what this stuff is, you might as well change it. And a few other things you're going to need is the lubricant or the oil for the system, basically for your compressor. You have that. And then just picked up this gaskets that are O-rings to replace everything in it, just to make sure you have that good seal. So these are basically the main things. The only thing really not changed, a couple of the lines, and then I'm not sure what the exact name is, but the unit that would be inside your dash, I'm not changing that. So we'll make sure that's the main thing I'm really going to focus on flushing out. But we're gonna get into this, start pulling some parts off, and I'll kind of show you as we go. Okay, and one of the first things you're gonna have to do is, if you're gonna do the responsible way, if you didn't have a leak and your system's empty, you'd go to a shop, get all your refrigerant vacked out. The other way you could do it, I'm not gonna say which way I did it, but you could loosen off some fittings, let the refrigerant leak out. But yeah, I won't say which way I did it. But first step, or you can start in a few different ways, but I'm gonna go ahead, take this off. It's just 4 13 mils. This is a 13 mil on both these fittings, which this is a stud. Depending if your new condenser comes with new studs, you might need to take these studs out and replace it. I went ahead and took out my intake just to get it out of the way, and the passenger side wheel well liner, I took that out, allows you some access. But you can go ahead, start taking this off. Also, you can loosen off your tensioner, take your belt off, and get the belt away from your compressor. When we get in there, I'll show you that, but it's pretty simple in that sake. So I'll go ahead, get this pulled off just because I know I need it out of the way, and it'll allow these lines to be loose. Okay, now that we got all this disconnected, we can go about taking our lines out, which run back here and then one runs down to your condenser down here, or your compressor, sorry, and then over here. And the one line here you can see runs in behind your battery tray. You might be able to fish that out, but I think you will end up bending it. So I'm gonna go ahead, disconnect the battery, pull it out, and then you got 4 13 mils, these two up here, two inside the wheel well. And I'm just gonna tip the battery tray forward so that I can pull these lines out of here. So first of all, I'll get this out of the way, and then I'll show you how to disconnect your lines there. There's just a 10 mil that holds the lines on the back of the compressor down here, but I'll get this out of the way, and it'll just make your life a little bit easier to get those lines out without bending them. Okay, one thing I failed to mention to get these lines apart, that you pull that retainer clip off, you have to use one of these type of tools. There's versions where it's just doesn't have this handle on it. You can get them at Harbor Freight. I had a set and I can't find them right now, so I just grabbed these from O'Reilly's. But essentially these fittings here are kind of have like a locker or teeth up in there. So you have to be able to shove this tool kind of up in there, and it helps release it. So you'll hold that up, and I already kind of got it released. And then you'll be able to pull the line apart, and they have O-rings in there. But so essentially you just have to shove this in there, which helps back the teeth off or whatever that locks it in place. So you'll need that to be able to get these apart. Most places are just called AC line kit or for fuel line connectors. And yeah, you just need to be able to shove that up in there. Sometimes they're a fight. This one was almost too wide. I actually kind of sandpapered it down to be able to get that in there. And so you just push it up and pull the line off. So I just wanted to show that. And that's how you get them apart. So you'll have that on all of these. All right, once those lines are out of your way, you can take your evaporator out of here. There's just 2 10 mils on it here on the side. So you're gonna spin out. And there, actually, you don't have to take them all the way out because that thing is notched. I kind of forgot about that. And then you'll just have to do your last little connector here. See if I fight this one or not. Looks like it. Okay, well, I'll fight this and get it off, but you get the idea. Now that you got all that other stuff out of the way, it's time to take the compressor off. In total, it has 4 13 mil bolts. You can see the one there, so you'll get this from here, and the other 2 that are just slightly lower. They're easier to get from laying underneath the truck. With a wrench, you'll take all 4 of those out, plus you will have this electrical plug here you have to take off. Also, earlier, there's this plug that goes in this line that was bolted to the back here and come up. There's this plug goes into the side of it. So just make sure you take that off. It just has the red locker on it, and you just slide it apart, and then you'll just have to disconnect the one that goes right to the compressor. So it's a little tough to film, so I'll go ahead, get these 4 out and pull this compressor out. You'll pull it out through the bottom, but pretty simple. Obviously, make sure you got your belt off, or else you'll be fighting that'll be holding in. So just, use your tensioner, take the pressure off, and slide the belt off the front of your compressor here. Okay, so I got the lines out. Now it's time to flush them. If you're reusing, obviously if you've got new lines, you're not gonna be doing this. But I don't know if there's a proper technique to this. I know for this cleaner, there is kind of a gun that you can put in and basically just blows it through. But all I'm gonna do is put it over the sink here. I'll dump a bit into this line, and I'm just gonna put my fingers over both ends kind of thing, and just kind of work this back and forth through there. Probably dump that out, put a bit more in, rinse it back and forth, and then I'll just take the air gun from the compressor and I will blow this line right out clean. Just make sure, so far I haven't seen any like metal shavings or anything in any of these. So I'm gonna do that with that line. This one will be a little different just because you got this, there's 2 lines on it, but same thing. I'm just gonna fill it up, shake it, flush it out, and run the air gun through it and just make sure I blow all that cleaner out of there. And it'll just help break down any kind of the oils in there and get that metal shavings if you have anything in there. And then the other place I'm gonna have to do it is right here where it goes into the truck. I'm either gonna have to find a little piece of hose or I have my big funnel, and I'm just gonna try, this is where I'm gonna use most of the cleaner, and I'm gonna dump a bunch in this side. I'll probably blow it through one way all the way out, and then I'm gonna try dump it in the other side, and same thing, air gun, blow it through so it comes through the other side just to make sure we flush that out the most. That's the thing that is gonna be the most crucial to clean out. Compared to the lines, I think we'll clean pretty easy. So I'll do a bit of that. I'll clean these lines out. It's pretty straightforward what I'm gonna do there. And I'll kind of show you what I rig up to clean out in there. Okay, so I got this kind of rigged up. I had this little piece of hose that actually fit perfectly inside there. And then I just had my funnel, which fit in the end of the hose. And I've just dumped some in there. I'm just gonna put a bit more and just let it sit for a bit and hope that it fills up in there. Let it sit for a little bit, and then I will hook the air compressor on here and just blow it all the way through and out the other side here. So I'll just have to put something there to catch it all. Obviously you don't want it blowing all over the engine bay. But for now, this is just what I got rigged up. Like I said earlier, they do sell, like when I got all my parts in Rock Auto, there is a special like air fitting thing that you fill up and it'll spray it through. I was just being cheap and didn't buy it, but this should work. I'm just gonna get it all in there and then we'll let it sit and push it through with the air gun, and we'll blow it out into a bucket or whatever I can get up in there to catch it all. All right, so we got this little rednecked up here, took the funnel off, so we're ready to blow it through. And I just had this piece of 1.25 inch pipe just sitting in the back of my truck, so I ended up using, instead of a hose, I wanted to use a rubber hose to push over, and the size I had didn't quite fit. So I got that up against there and then just down into a bucket here. So definitely ghetto rigged up, but you got to do what you got to do if you don't want to spend the money to get the proper stuff. So I'll set the camera up and we'll try blow through this. It took quite a bit of the cleaner solvent into it, so I'm hoping it filled it up pretty good. And we're just going to try push it through with the air gun, and hopefully it cleans that out, and we'll try go push it through the other direction too, possibly. We'll see what the material coming out looks like. All right, now that we got that all cleaned out, we're ready to get our parts ready to throw back in. And so as per the instructions for this new compressor, even though it came pre-filled with oil, they want you to dump out what's in here. So you'll just take this back, it had a little cover on the back here. Take that off through these 2 ports And I'm just gonna dump it out. There is also a drain plug here, so if it doesn't drain super well, I will open that up too. So they want you to drain that out, and this total system takes 7 ounces of the oil, so this is 8 in here. You're gonna go ahead and dump in half of it into your compressor, and the rest you will split up between your evaporator, your condenser. It just helps put lubrication throughout the system. And then obviously we'll have a little bit left over. I just use that to lubricate up all the O-rings when you go to put it together. Just keeps you from pinching them, that kind of thing. And once you fill this up, here, looks like we actually got quite a bit out. When I dump it in here, I'm just gonna go ahead and rotate this. It says 8 to 10 times with the new oil. It helps lubricate the front seal. Just helps prevent it so it doesn't go bad on you. So go ahead here, I'll dump some in. Looks like we got all of it out here. See if I can dump this in without making a mess. As I shake like crazy and try not to spill this. And I'm just gonna split it up between the two. Doesn't seem to want to go on that one as easy. Definitely not measuring precise here, but we'll go for that rough half. So we got about half of it in there. Like I said, I'll put the rest kind of spread out between the other parts of the system here. Just let that sink in there. And just give it those rotations. I can hear it gurgling, trying to not let it splash, so just taking it easy. I guess I should have been smart and put it all mainly in the supply here because it's trying to pump it out the other side. Not necessarily thinking the smartest there. I'm gonna let it kind of settle in there a bit, and then I will finish those last few rotations on it. And I think I'll just throw this cover back on it for the time being, and I will bolt this back up in the truck. So we're at the point where we're putting things back on. So pretty straightforward. Bolt this back up underneath there, and we'll go from there. Kind of show how to put together. I'm going to replace some of these O-ring seals, and like I said, I'll use some of this to kind of lubricate them up as I put them on. Just helps install them better, less chance of wrecking the O-ring. Okay, got the compressor in there. Obviously make sure to plug it back in, and then now I'm going to move on to this, getting it on. I'm just going to dump a bit of this in here, some of the lubricant. Oh, should pay attention what I'm doing. Although it worked out because I was going to put some on this O-rings here. Usually I just dip my finger in there, and I'm just trying to get this to work in there a bit. Get it down into there so we don't spill it while we're installing it. But yeah, just back these out so they're ready because it just slides on. And then you're just gonna slide this in, just make sure you don't pinch your O-rings. And it's basically just like a push lock. You can see in here, there's kind of this spring type thing that locks it in, and then you'll put that clamp back over. So I'll take this over the truck, push this on so we can get ready to start doing our lines. And then obviously tighten it down so it can't move around. All right, so I got this mounted in here, re-locked in. And then I set this other line, the one that went in behind your battery and stuff, it's in here. So I just kind of take a little bit of this oil, put it on my finger, and I'll just put it on the O-rings. And if you're reusing lines, I would inspect your O-rings really good because you have that kit to replace them. So if they look like they're not any good, but I did this not too long ago, so they're still in good shape. So just get it lubricated up, make sure it's lined up good, and push it on. Sometimes you'll hear it kind of click, So there you can give it a little tug, it's not going to come off. And then you'll just take your locking clip, put it back on. If it has any mount points, put those back on. And then I'll show you, like on your other line here that goes to the back of your compressor, has these O-rings here. These ones I'm gonna replace. So you'll just obviously pull them off. They got some new ones here. I'm gonna put them on, but I'm gonna clean this all up here first. But put your new O-rings there. You can see these ones here on the end, but they're not like they're shrunk or anything. So I'm just gonna use them, but if not, you just pick them off, slide it on. And some of these surfaces, you could kind of clean them up because there is another one that sits on there. But yeah, I'll just go ahead, clean that up. I'm gonna bolt this back onto the back of the compressor and kind of line them up where they need to go. This is that one plug we were talking about earlier. Plug that back in, and then we'll move around to the condenser on the front. But pretty straightforward, we're just on reassembly. Okay, so I got the new condenser here bolted in, obviously just the 4 bolts. And here, so you'll have to, this one came with new studs. I know when I did it before, I think I had to take the old ones out, but luckily this one came, so you're just gonna thread those in there. You could put some Loctite on there if you wanted. And then, so these joints here have the O-ring that's on here, so same thing, check that out. These are looking good. And then it's also got these ones here that slide over and go through the stud. So I'll go ahead here, same thing. I'm just gonna lubricate this all up, just make sure. So there you go, just push it together. Put your nut on there. We'll just run that in. Just make sure it's snug, but this is aluminum, so I just would make sure you don't want to get crazy and strip that out. You can always tighten it more, but pretty straightforward. The bottom's the exact same. Just get that together there. All right, guys, so we got everything back in, everything connected. At this point, basically, I'm not gonna waste your time, but you're gonna put obviously the battery tray back in. I'll put my intake back in. But as far as the AC, everything's connected. Even once I got it all full connected, I went back under there and spun that compressor a few more times just to make sure. And you can kind of tell, I could feel it spinning better, so it's got that lubrication in it. Obviously, before I put this into, I dumped the rest of that lube into the condenser here. We're hooked up back there. The only last thing left to do would be to put your belt back on. Right now, I got that short one on. I'm gonna go buy a new one. And then now that all this is connected, the last thing before you actually have AC, you'll have to take it to a shop. They will vac the system down and fill it with the refrigerant. Then you'll have that nice icy cold air. I'm definitely missing it. Look forward to having it. So at that point, hopefully you have 0 leaks. I definitely would recommend if your lines are old, because when I did this before, I didn't change these main lines that have the rubber in it. And when I went to get it back down, they cracked and leaked just because they're old. It's kind of sun rotted or heat rotted. So you kind of waste money booking it in, paying for that. That aside, just make sure everything's nice and tight, make sure those lines are clicked together, and that you put those clamps back on that are just kind of a safety thing that holds it there. That aside, we're all done here. I hope this was helpful for you and you can get this job done yourself. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.